Justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Campos, will you please take the roll call?
Yes. Trustee Bradall?
Here.
Trustee Brocchini?
Here.
Trustee Doggett?
Here.
Trustee Levin?
Here.
Trustee Villalobos?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The district digitally records the audio and video portion of the meetings. All recordings are kept in the superintendent's office for 30 days and are available during that time period for inspection by members of the public on district equipment without charge. Speakers wishing to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items, please submit your first and last name and agenda item you wish to speak on in the Q&A area of the webinar. Please do not submit comments or questions in the Q&A area. You will be called to address the board, your microphone will be unmuted, and you may speak up to 3 minutes. After you have spoken, your microphone will be muted. Item 6, report out on closed session topics. The board met in closed session regarding public employee discipline and public employee appointment of the superintendent. No action was taken. Item 7, approval of the minutes of August 26, 2020. Are there any questions regarding the minutes of August 26, 2020?
No questions.
No questions.
No questions.
No questions.
Seeing as there are no questions, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of August 26, 2020?
A motion to approve the minutes from August 6, 2020.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Campos, will you please take the roll call vote?
Yes. Trustee Bradall?
Yes.
Trustee Brocchini?
Yes.
Trustee Doggett?
Yes.
Trustee Levin?
Yes.
Trustee Villalobos?
Yes.
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda and consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be approved with one motion, which is not debatable and which requires a unanimous vote for passage. If any member of the board, the superintendent, or the public so requests, any item shall be removed from this section and placed in the regular order of business following approval of the consent agenda.
Jesse, I'd like to remove the personnel items.
Okay.
Personnel changes.
Very good. Anybody else? Okay. So are there any questions from the board regarding approval of the agenda and consent agenda?
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, I have no questions either. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda.
And I will second that.
Okay.
Ms. Campos, will you please take the roll call vote?
Trustee Villalobos?
Yes.
Trustee Levin?
Yes.
Trustee Doggett?
Yes.
Trustee Brocchini?
Yes.
Trustee Bradall?
Yes.
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 9, communications. Speakers wishing to address the board on agenda items or non-agenda items, please submit your first and last name and agenda item you wish to speak on in the Q&A area of the webinar. Please do not submit comments or questions in the Q&A area. You will be called to address the board, your microphone will be unmuted, and you may speak up to 3 minutes. After you have spoken, your microphone will be muted.
Jesse, before we go there, we have to go back to the personnel changes and.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot.
No problem. So I will hand that over to Alexis, the personnel changes. Will, could you pull that up on the agenda on the screen? Perfect.
Thank you. We haven't completed the process for hiring the executive assistant. Therefore, we will be bringing that item back at a future date. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the personnel changes with the exception of the executive assistant candidate.
Okay. Do I have any questions from the board?
No questions?
No questions.
Okay.
No questions.
Questions?
Okay. So we shall vote to approve the personnel changes with the exclusion of item 3A. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel changes with the exclusion of item 3A?
I'll make a
Oh, sorry,
motion to approve.
3D. Sorry. Excuse me. It was item D, as in dog, not A.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I am screwing everything up. A little tired. So it was 3A. And I have a motion to approve from Ms. Brocchini. Yes.
Yes.
And who seconded that?
I did.
Okay.
Laverne?
Thank you, Trustee Villalobos. Will you please take the roll call vote, Ms. Campos?
Yes. Trustee Bradall,
Yes.
Trustee Brocchini,
Yes.
Trustee Doggett,
Yes.
Trustee Levin,
Yes.
and Trustee Villalobos.
Yes.
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And sorry for that slip up, everyone. Now on to item 9, communication. Speakers wishing to address the board on agenda items or non-agenda items, please submit your first and last name and agenda item you wish to speak on in the Q&A area of the webinar. Please do not submit comments or questions in the Q&A area. You will be called to address the board. Your microphone will be unmuted and you may speak up to 3 minutes. After you have spoken, your microphone will be muted. LSEA.
Good evening. How are you all tonight? Someone today said that we are 10% done with the school year. And part of me is like, wow, that's awesome. We've made it 10%. And the other part of me is like, holy cannoli. We've already made it 10%. We have a lot still not in place for teachers. We know the district is working hard, but I think it is very important to be said that we all appreciate and understand how hard the teachers are working. They are working above and beyond as it is, and doubly hard without systems all in place for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. CSEA.
Yes, this is Jerry Newland, and I have something really positive, and to me it was exciting to hear. I was in a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I heard about a new activity called a shout out. I'd never heard that before, so I was wondering, what does this all mean? I heard teachers thanking paras for all the help during this distance learning experience, prepping, helping students one-on-one as needed virtually. Paras shouting out to the teachers, the techs, office workers, just the technical people. It was amazing to hear the collaboration that everybody was doing, working together, the positive nature of what we were having to handle and deal with, new experiences for everybody. This all made me feel really good inside to know how appreciative all are for what was once the unknown. Successes are all around our students, thanks to everyone's teaming together. Collaboration as never seen before. LSEA members, CSEA members, teachers and paras, school assistants. It was just gave me a very good feeling that no matter how hard we've had to work, it's all been great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we have people wishing to address the board, and first up is Megan Ellsburn.
I was actually going to speak for item 10A. That was my other item.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you wanted to speak as part of the public as well, or just Ellis. Yeah, okay. So next up, thank you. We'll hear from you on item 10A, okay? So next up is Charlotte Allen.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. On July 15th, the choice to start the year in distance learning was made. With only weeks to plan, surveys went out, and a whopping 20% of families felt uncomfortable signing up for a continuum model, we being one of those families. And now I'd like to share our reasons for choosing the full year distance learning model. Our superintendent has in meetings accused these choices of being political and insinuating it was no coincidence that parents and teachers wanted out of the classroom only when right-wing and left-wing politicians took vocal sides on the matter. I have sat through meetings where the superintendent has made mention that her own mother would simply tell her to brush it off and get out there, get back to school. But what about this pandemic can we casually brush off? One, I can assure you no parent I know would choose something as grave as keeping our children out of school just to spite an opposing political party. And two, I find lightening a pandemic to a mere childhood scrape infuriating and condescending. With absolutely no answers as to how a positive case of COVID would be treated, we were not comfortable leaning on the decisions of a person with the mentality and gall of stating one should just brush off a pandemic. We couldn't risk this type of mindset to prematurely send our children, our teachers, our staff back to school. In all honesty, we felt forced to choose full year distance learning. Leadership, true leadership, takes unimaginable circumstances and guides, motivates, problem solves, collaborates, and gifts themselves and their community the power of time, knowledge, and strategy. What I have seen coming from the district level is scrambling and in many cases, lack of initiative. This is not the first time I have questioned leadership coming from the district. Back in November of 2018, when air quality was terrible and many schools surrounding us chose to close their doors in an effort to keep children safe, we had a change of heart decision come to us at 11:05 p.m. the night before a school day, advising our doors too would be shut. Just curious how sleeping families were expected to scramble for childcare between 11:05 p.m. and 8 a.m. I also question, as I have before, when the bond money passed 2 years ago will be applied to schools in desperate need of repair. Many of the parent advocates that went door to door in our grassroots effort to raise this money have already graduated out of our school district. 2 years to spend money and nothing. Where is the accountability? I wholeheartedly feel failed by the district. Since March, the district administrators had months to prepare a return to school option that did not disrupt entire school communities. Instead, a last-minute plan was chosen that separated people even further than this pandemic has. Once again, leaving teachers to clean up the mess. And clean it they did without skipping a beat, some not even having a class list until late morning the first day of school, some still unsure if they have a PTO supporting them, and some still without the technology they need to do what they need to do, teach. And if I, a PTO president and 10-year veteran parent in this district, feels isolated, I have to wonder the morale of others less privy to plans and information, how they must feel. There are questions that need to be answered, and there is much work to be done to show true support and leadership to all our teachers, students, and families. I urge the board to scrutinize the decisions of our district administrators and trust that before renewing contracts that you reach out and hear what other constituents have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Board Superintendent Communications. Oh, I'm sorry, we have correspondence. My bad. So item 9D, correspondence. Superintendent Olson.
I do not have any.
Oh, okay. So I guess I should have skipped ahead. So item 9E as in Edwin, Board Superintendent Communications. Who would like to start? Elizabeth, Trustee Burdall. Yeah, I think you had your hand up first.
Okay. Well, as usual, this month we had the elected officials calls on a weekly basis and the county office of ed calls on a weekly basis with the updates of the pandemic. All of us did the governance workshop, which was 6 hours over 2 nights. And that was really informative, and it was a rare chance when the 5 of us got to spend together. And I also attended some back to school nights, Ortega, Cabrillo, Miss Sullivan with 5th grade, Valimar with Miss Murphy with kindergarten. And I was just really impressed on how hard the teachers and the staff have been working on this and their schedules and everything. And, you know, it's not a perfect situation, but it was really impressive how, how organized and coordinated they were and how they were reaching out to the new families, especially the kindergarten. I thought, it'd be really a hard time to be a kindergarten parent right now and to be new to education in general and have to do it all on a screen. So it was just really impressive, the back to school nights that I attended.
Thank you. Who would like to go next? Trustee Villalobos.
Like Elizabeth, like everybody, we did the 2 nights of special meetings for the governance workshop and going over our governance norms and guidelines. And then I did Ortega's back to school night for 2nd grade, Mrs. Patterson. And I just want to say that I really appreciated her enthusiasm during, these different times. And as well as the parents, everybody was just really upbeat and being positive. There were a little tech issues, I guess, about Seesaw versus Google Classroom, but I'm sure that's kind of like just working out the kinks of everything. Then I've been working a lot. There's a presentation later that I worked on. It took me a long time to do it and a lot of research and whatnot.
Thank you very much. So Trustee Brocchini or Trustee Doggett, who would like to go next?
I don't have very much. Due to my schedule, I wasn't able to meet any of the back to school nights. However, I did attend the workshop that everyone mentioned before. So that's pretty much my update.
Thank you. Trustee Brocchini.
All right, so kind of a lot of things today. I participated in the Ortega back to school night, as well as the Ocean Shore 2nd, 3rd grade full year distance learning back to school night. Again, just reiterating what everyone said. I mean, I really, really appreciate how much effort's being put into by these teachers. I was paying attention what was happening with full year distance learning. And everyone, again, was very helpful and collaborative. There are, again, a couple kinks they're still working out. But again, I think it's just beginning of these school year stuff. So that was good to see. I also want to give a shout out to Mr. Yu and his district-wide Friday concerts. My daughter actually switched schools this year, and and a lot of the kids are kind of feeling a little displaced. But this was an opportunity for her to see all of her friends from all across the district and really kind of have a nice place to connect. So that was really nice and kind of sweet to see. And again, big shout out to him. So thank you for that. Let's see. I also have heard from several teachers about how great the across the district collaboration is going. They are feeling like they are connecting more than they ever have before. And a lot of teachers have started, some sites to kind of collect everybody and collect information. And they really seem to be working well together. It's something I haven't really seen in the district in my years of being here. So I'm really excited to see there's so much collaboration going into this. Moving over to the county meetings, I'm also on the same calls that Elizabeth is often. I would just want to give a shout out to the census. Make sure you're doing your census. We've only got 2 to 6 more weeks to get that in. But Pacifica is actually doing well, but we still have about 20% that have not filled out that census, and it's a lot of money for our town. So please do take the minute, it really is only a minute or 2 to fill that out and take time to do that. There was a mention that the county is getting prepared to be able to do targeted testing of businesses. I mentioned this to Heather. I'm hopeful that that is going to somehow also go over to testing the teachers, but they are gearing up for doing more targeting testing at the county level. So that's good news for us. Let's see. We are getting close to shifting our county from purple to red. What that would mean is that retail can go from 25 to 50%. Places of worship can now open at 25%. Movies at 25%, gyms at 10%. So if anybody's interested in those things, that potentially is happening next Tuesday. And then last thing is just please continue to wear masks. model it for your children. And that really is the way we're going to get back to school as quickly as possible. So please continue to model mask wearing and encourage the kids to do that anytime you are outside of your own home is the rule. So anyway, thank you. That's it for me today.
Thank you very much. So I don't have too much more to add. I, of course, attended the board governance workshop along with my colleagues. In addition, I attended 2 back to school nights, and it was just wonderful. The teachers just really had it well organized. Incidentally, on one of them, Zoom decided to run its own course and mute the teacher. So as a group, we kind of had to figure it out, and the teacher had to call in on his cell phone, and we all helped out and sort of pointed the teacher in the right direction to the. I think one of us actually got the phone number and chatted it to the teacher, but it all worked out. I guess I'm only saying this to say, you know, there are hiccups along the way, but together we can all work it out. It was, you know, it was really good. I think all the parents on both of these back to school night sessions that I attended really appreciated being able to ask questions and get some more information on really this uncharted territory that we've all been thrust into. The only other public service announcements I wanted to make is San Mateo County's Board of Education. They have released their updated pandemic recovery framework. And that includes the new color-coded system that Gavin Newsom released. And then the final thing is I wanted to mention, I got a notice from the United States Postal Service saying that if you are voting by mail, vote early this year. So I want to encourage everybody, just get it done, make your voice heard. And if you're going to submit by mail, just do it early, make sure that your vote gets in there. All right. And that's all that I have. We are going to move on to item 10, district business. So district goals. The district values the goals provided in our local control accountability plan, LCAP, and strategic plan. All of our district board agenda items are tied to these goals. One or more goals are listed in the description of each board agenda item. The details of each of those district goals can be accessed on our Agenda Online public page or by visiting the district website, www.pacificasd.org, under District Information, Board of Trustees. Item 10A, Task Force for Reopening of School 2020-2021. Superintendent Olson.
Great. This is the board item that we've discussed over several sessions, and it is narrowing down to look at a task force for the reopening of schools. And so I would like to hand it over to Trustee Villalobos. We'll pull that up in just 1 minute. There you go. Perfect. You know what, Will, you may have to go get it from 10B. There you go. It's the one on the right, attachment B.
All right. I just want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to voice my concerns about COVID and us being in the education. And it took me a while to gather all these thoughts, but in the end, my thought is that we are all trying to get through this together and be healthy and be safe for the whole staff, the school, the teachers, the staff, the students, and even branching out to the families, because COVID just doesn't stop at our school. And so let's go ahead. This is a Pacifica School District facilitating communication during a pandemic. Can we go to the next slide for this school year? The objectives are to review established structures of communication and forums between board trustees and our education partners, to discuss options to create additional opportunities for communication during COVID-19 pandemic amongst the following parties: district, board trustees, and education partners. discuss expanding the board agenda to include Laguna Salada Education Association, LSEA, and California School Employees Association, CSEA reports. And so tonight, I'm hoping there's a consensus to vote separately on creating a task force and updating the agenda to include LSEA and CSEA reports. There should be a reports after that. Can we go to the next slide? So this is a letter that I wrote 2 months before the pandemic, and I'll just read it aloud. And what it is stating is that there are already established structures of communication between board trustees and LSEA, and it's limited. Dear Laguna Salada Education Association bargaining team and co-presidents, thank you for your correspondence in which you request to institute a regular meeting between LSEA representatives and board members. I apologize for the delay in responding. We have carefully considered your request, and I can't see because of, there we go. And respectfully decline your invitation for a regular meeting between 2 trustees and LSEA members. The board exercises its authority collectively, and we speak with one voice through our representative, Superintendent Heather Olson. We understand that you meet every 3 weeks with her and her staff members. She routinely updates our board members and concerns brought forth. The board encourages you to use the structures for communication already in place. Every 3 weeks, there is an opportunity to speak to our board at the beginning of each regular board meeting. This is the most appropriate time to speak to matters that are important to our district community. We are also looking at other modes of communication, such as school site-based meetings used by Jefferson Union High School District, to see if this or other options would be useful in Pacifica. I highlighted this because as a board, we are interested in open and respectful communication at all times through established structures and forums, and respectfully decline your request to meet with board members individually. Thank you in advance for understanding, and we look forward to continued open and honest communication. Sincerely, Laverne Villalobos, President. And Board of Education, yeah. Why should we expand our communication during the COVID-19 pandemic? Demonstrate priority of our students' overall well-being and education. Perpetuate unity and teamwork. Our students, staff, and families are affected not only within the school setting, but also in their homes and their communities. Ongoing mitigation is necessary to reduce the spread. Up-to-date health and safety guidelines are necessary. Allows opportunities for collaboration about stages of ongoing return to school plans between teachers, staff, and parent representatives. Can you go up? Thank you. Are established structures of communication and forums. Superintendent district meetings that include administration, LSEA, CSEA, and other leadership whom are reported to the board. Board approved PSD Return to School Committee led by the superintendent. Education partners, including LSEA and CSEA, are allowed 3 minutes to address the board during board agenda public comment. The general public are also allowed 3 minutes. Any person or organization can write, call, or send emails to the Board of Trustees. I wanted to add there that it wasn't quite clear from my letter if a member of LSEA could call, a telephone call, the trustees. Okay, so next, what is the purpose for creating a district task force? We want to build on the work of Dr. Olson's board-approved Pacifica School District Return to School Plan. Collaboration, transparency, health and safety of PSD students, family, and staff, proactive approach to prepare and plan for possible unforeseen circumstances, share perspectives and experiences among partners and their different roles within the PSD. Share feedback with our superintendent about continuing to the next stages of the return to school plan. Review new guidance for the 4-colored tier for measuring coronavirus risk, as well as science and data every 6 weeks to determine next stages of the RTS plan. Superintendent will evaluate and determine best approach of the RTS plan. Present to the trustees at monthly regular board meetings for the school year 2021. Who are the proposed education partners for the task force? Superintendent, who would lead. Administration, 1. Principals, 2, 1 from a K-5 and 1 from a K-8. LSEA, 2, possibly 1 from our year-long distance learning program. CSEA, 2, possibly 1 from our maintenance department. Parent council reps, 2, 1 from a K-5 and 1 from a K-8. And update our board agenda, establish structure of communication. I propose to add LSEA report to regular board agenda and propose to add CSEA report to regular board agenda. The reports may give the Board of Trustees clarity and firsthand information for on-site activities, concerns surrounding coronavirus, curriculum, student learning, safety and health, as well as any positive contributions from students in their classroom. And questions or comments?
So we have some public comment, and I wanted to let them talk first. First we have Natalie Abinante.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Of course, you're going to make me go first. So I'm Natalie Abinante, and I am the RSP teacher at Ocean Shore. And I'd like to talk about the fact that often the committees or task forces that the district puts together talk about having 2 LSEA members and 2 CSEA members. And I think that that's just not enough. We have a variety of jobs. There are a lot of things that we cover and a lot of different jobs that we cover and a lot of different students that we cover. And while we do definitely check in with our colleagues before meetings, it's not the same as hearing from those people in a meeting or hearing from those people specifically. You're not hearing those stories in the same way because you're not hearing them from the people who are experiencing them. I would hope that this new task force would not actually limit the people to the norms, but allow LSEA and CSEA to choose their own people. We won't abuse that. We're not going to put our whole membership in a task force, but you will get a better idea of what all staff feel and need. Often in committees, we don't get the full picture until the meeting happens and discussions start. That means we can't fully express the viewpoints of all of our members. My other concern is that in the proposed education partners, the 6-8, so IBL, is left out from all of those things in both the principal and the parent council reps. And all of our different models, all of our different schools are different. And they represent different communities and they represent different important factors. And I think it's really important that in anything that we are deciding and discussing, that we are hitting every one of those communities, because every one of those communities is important. And I think we should hit them all and hear from them all in a meaningful way that's not just at a board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next we have Jerry Newland. Jerry, I see you, but you are muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll start all over again. Good evening, trustees, administrators, and all present. My name is Jerry Newland. I'm president of CSEA, which represents all classified employees. Tonight, an agenda item for the school trustees to consider is to allow CSEA, LSEA, labor partners a communication opportunity for reporting out. First of all, I'd like to provide a definition of reports. A report is to return or present a matter referred for consideration and conclusions or recommendations, to watch for and to report to the trustees internal aspects or developments, to serve as carriers of a message. As the president of CSEA, our executive board and members share information, ask questions. And when I said executive board, I meant the CSEA, we call them the E-board. But the members share information, ask questions, etc. It would be our responsibility as their representatives, as they may be necessary, to investigate, mitigate, and or report out as such. The report out as necessary, I should say, to bring information or summary to seek the ears of our trustees as well as the administrators. This is not all negative. Opportunities to tout the positives are just as important and would be welcomed. We are asking the trustees members to consider approving the open communication opportunity. I'm sure this we would all find value with this approval of the communication reporting opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next up is Megan Ellsburn.
LSEA has appreciated the conversations at the most recent board meetings surrounding our inclusion, along with CSEA in the dialogue with you in regards to the impacts of COVID on the education of our students. Thank you, Laverne, for spearheading this inclusion. We definitely want to be included in the discussion and share our perceptions of the current status we are in with distance learning and what we believe we will need to move forward towards a safe hybrid learning environment. Over the years, the conversations LSEA has had with board members has ranged from casual phone calls to coffee dates to PSD board members attending our union meetings. Lately, it has been one-sided comments from us during public comment without follow-ups from you. It would seem to us that our school district elected representatives would want to open that dialogue and hear from those of us in the metaphorical trenches. Yes, we do have dialogue with Heather and trust that our concerns are shared with you. However, playing telephone with information from teachers is bound to have some glitches. Sometimes we wonder if what we find urgent and needing of attention gets delivered to you. We listen attentively to board meetings that are often a bit confused with the presentation you are given. We don't necessarily blame the cabinet for this, as they aren't experiencing our day-to-day lives educating the Pacifica students. We are the ones face-to-face with these children. LSEA is constantly encouraging our members to come speak at board meetings. Please understand that without the back and forth conversation, never any follow-up from you, many of our members feel unheard and ignored. Hopefully this new idea presented does come to fruition in some shape, and we can return to the days of open dialogue between PSD union representatives and PSD elected board members. We should all be in the same boat, rowing towards the same goal, conversing as a team as we are met with the challenges ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I would like to open it up to, hold on for a second, just seeing if there's anybody else that wants to speak on this. Let's see here. It does, I do have, well, Rachel Merlot, I'm gonna call on you. It says comment on this item. So I assume you wanted to comment on item 10A.
Hi, yes, I'm sorry, I put it in late.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm Rachel Merlot. I'm commenting on this. I looked at it the other day, and I'm commenting as a teacher at IBL. Natalie actually already brought to the attention my most pressing concern, looking at the task force of return to school, and that the 6-8 was omitted, specifically the middle school. And I just would like to comment that I've noticed in a few different presentations that we are often not included, and we are a separate entity than both the K-5 and the K-8. Currently at our school also, when looking at return to school practices and things like that, the vast majority of our teachers are also teaching both a full year distance learning class as well as the continuum model. It will look very different for our school site upon returning than many of the other school sites. I'm just commenting that it would be nice to be included as the only middle school in the district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have Nicole Ortega.
Thank you, Trustee Levin. My name is Nicole Ortega. I am a CSEA chapter member, and I am also on the negotiating committee for my chapter. I work in the district office as an admin secretary, and I just wanted to thank Trustee Villalobos for bringing this forward. I think it's very important that you have communication that is firsthand. I think that allowing LSEA and CSEA to participate would only be a benefit to our district, our students, our family, and our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think I've gotten everybody on the list here on this item. So I'm going to open it up to board discussion. And who would like to start? I'm going to let Trustee Brocchini start, unless there's something that you want to clarify, Trustee Villalobos. Yes? Okay. Why don't you do that? You are muted right now.
I apologize profusely to IBL. I did not mean to exclude you. You know, it's been a long time since I've done a presentation, and it was just an oversight, and I'm so sorry. You guys are important, and you guys do have a unique program over there. So I would just like to ask the fellow board members to add IBL 6 through 8 in there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. So I think we have Trustee Brocchini was the first to raise her hand.
Yeah, I guess what I'm wondering is, can we just open it up to more people and just make sure that we hit all the notes that you've highlighted? I know over the summer we had a parent group that had 60 to 80 parents often. And it was great. It was very collaborative. Everyone worked together. So anyway, I guess just, do we have to limit the numbers? Or if we open it up, do we just want to make sure we're hitting all those places? That's my only comment.
So I'll just throw in my 2 cents here. And I have to say, Natalie stole my thunder there. She came up with the exact points that I did, which are really, IBL, that's been corrected now. But it would seem that this task force might be a little too lean as marked here. And I guess I would like to see some more representation, both on the part of parents and also on the part of LSEA and CSEA. I think that the task force, clearly you don't want a task force that's too big, but I think that we could certainly put some more members on here from those last 3 bullets. And then of course the principal bullet, well, you're gonna have to get IBL in there. So anyway, I guess I'm just reiterating what's already been said, but I generally support this. I also think that this task force can really help build off of the work that was done by the work groups, because there's already been considerable discussion surrounding how we're going to kind of distance learning and I imagine how we would plan to go back. So I'd like to pass to somebody else. Who would like to speak next?
I'll take the time. I am happy that Laverne worked on this. I'm glad to see an actual plan that we can use, because I do want to see more communication from our teachers, from our parents, and especially with the coronavirus, I think this would be very, very helpful. So I am fully behind it. And even though I did read this presentation, I just assumed that IBL was in there somewhere. So I never thought it was excluded. And so I just want to put that there as a parent, an IBL parent. I never felt like you didn't think about us. So I just knew, you know, sometimes you say K through 8 because it's easier and we have just one middle school, but I always felt that it was part of this whole plan.
So I have a clarifying question if there's a good break here. And that is, Trustee Villalobos, when you said administration 1, that's like a central administrator? Administrators can be at the school level as well, right? So.
I was thinking, you know, of Josie or Will,
okay.
You know, Alexis or special. I was actually thinking more bigger than this, but like I said, it's been a long time since I've done a presentation, so I completely agree with having more LSEA, you know, adding special ed, CSEA, paras, getting their point of view, the people who are going to be actually cleaning for us, we need to hear how things are going from them. And I picked the parent parent reps because that's actually a board, or not a board, but a district held position, the parent council reps. But I'm just all for everybody having more collaboration and hearing all the voices, you know, so adding more people, you know, I'm definitely in favor of. Did you have another question, Jesse?
No, I mean, I think that was it. Well, actually, I do have one more question. Thank you. I wasn't clear on whether the slots for LSEA and CSEA to report out at board meetings, if that was something that was directly tied to return to school pandemic, or if that was more of a general thing, inclusive of return to school issues and distance learning, all of the above. So I guess I didn't know if that was supposed to be something, you know, completely permanent, or if it was something that was really specific to the times that we're facing right now.
Well, I think that, you know, the times we're facing right now is kind of open-ended. And I think we just need to kind of keep it that way. But having so I think what you're asking is, what does it look like? So the reporting would be on the agenda, LSEA reports. They, you know, just like how Will or Josie has a spot on the agenda, they would have their own dedicated time, and they're not limited to 3 minutes. I just feel like during COVID that they deserve more than 3 minutes. They deserve, you know, a presentation or 10 minutes or nothing at all, whatever they want to share with us. So that would be just a separate item on the agenda for them to report out, you know, anything, how it's going in the classrooms, you know, is everything going well, distance learning, you know, just whatever they're experiencing in these different times, you know, because we're teaching the kids, you know, like we're giving this meeting right now, no person to person. And also, I just feel like we need to take ownership of our own community, because there is so much, I guess I just want to say it's so political out there that I think we need to take care of each other, and we need to have people who are following the information and who are contributing to the discussions and, you know, moving to the different stages and making sure that it's healthy for everybody, not only in our schools, but, you know, the grandparents, you know, when the kids come home, or anybody else that they're in contact with. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, almost. I mean, I just want to clarify. So this is a standing item it's indefinitely on board meetings, right? Because again, you're giving me the idea that this is only the return to school thing, and I think it's larger than that, right?
I think it is larger than that, because we're in a different time. I was just looking back at some of my pictures, and for the past 3 years, we've had major fires. And I think that we just need to have better communication that's going out to the parents. So if the task force can be responsible for gathering the information, you know, that's why the principals are in there. That's why the parent council reps are in there. You know, if there's more people, the better. When, you know, to be honest, there was so much pushback, you know, when I brought it up, and maybe that was my fault because I wasn't being clear. I just wanted to kind of keep it simple. But if we want to broaden it, I think we should broaden it. And, you know, the board can make decisions, you know, now. You know, if we wanted to change something in the future, we can change it in the future. But I think that we would only benefit from hearing the LSEA and CSA reports ongoing without an expiration date.
Just FYI is that is the next agenda item, is the update to the agenda to include an LSEA. So we can talk about it in the context of this, but I also think we should be careful to make sure that deliberations and discussion happen there.
That is my fault. I'm sorry about that. It's because it was all kind of rolled into one presentation. So thank you. I will reserve any further comment on this until next. So I invite my fellow trustees to weigh in here, and we're only going to be talking about the task force at this time.
I'm in favor of the task force.
So this is a vote, right?
This is an action item, yes.
Are we still commenting?
I just wanted to know because I'm like, I'm okay with voting on it. I just wanted to make sure.
Well, we don't have to vote on it if everybody's not ready to. I do think that there are some things that have to be tightened up, such as the proposed composition of the task force, because you know I'm hearing a lot of people who are in favor of the task force, but there are some particulars I think that need to be ironed out before we do vote on it. I think it would be prudent to do that. So, Trustee Bradall.
I was just going to say I'm in favor of the task force, and expanding it, but I do, you know, think we need to have some balance or, you know, some limits so there's not 60 representatives from one group and 1 or 2 from another group. So, you know, yes, 2's too small, but there need to be some sort of a balance, I would say, but otherwise I'm for it.
Trustee Villalobos.
Is there any way to have like a special meeting or a work study that irons out all the details of how many representatives are there from you know, LSEA, CSEA, principals, administration, and parents as well?
So you mean to like vote on the concept now and then work out the details? Something like that? I don't see why we couldn't do that, but I guess I want to defer to Superintendent Olson. Is that okay?
We could certainly do that, or we could figure out mostly what would work and kind of hit that and recognize that maybe there will be some slight adjustments to that. So the way that people are talking about this is similar to the working groups. We had about 54 employees from every working group, special ed, health and safety, curriculum and instruction that went with technology, and wellness. And those groups were great. And then we came together. I think in the task force piece, I would want an equivalent number of parents as there are for, say, each of the employee groups. And I know that we're working very hard on parity and making sure that it's even, but I would honestly say that every one of my cabinet members is working on the plan. And so, you know, we could even it so that it's somehow I don't want to take advantage and have it be uneven, but at the same time, if we're going to talk about direct communication, we'd also want the leaders of the group that are there to be a part of that. And then there's just one thing in the back of my mind, which is I think we had, I just invited about 160 parents to our parent advisory / parent council meeting on Monday night, where we're going to talk about the learning continuity plan. That group is great for getting the information out to people, but it's not great for getting information in. Where we had good information in from parents this summer was when we broke off into smaller groups. Kind of same thing with the work group is when you get the group size to be too big, it's not that efficient. It's great for generating ideas, but coming to decisions is a little bit more challenging. And especially since people are so busy and the time is more limited because we don't have all day in the summer, I might encourage us not 2 LSEA and 2 CSEA, but just to keep it within reason, like maybe 4 from each group might be a better amount, and recognizing that not necessarily everyone could be at the table, but let's start with that. Maybe is what I might recommend, is somewhere between the work groups and the initial proposal. I think there's probably because this group now really has to produce, like we have to go over things in great detail. We have to really get to know some of those requirements. And I think that's different than generating the ideas. This summer we were generating ideas and narrowing it down. And this piece I feel like is a little bit more like, here are some final decisions that are going to be made.
Okay, so I guess I'm still I'm not sure if we've settled on numbers of I guess task force members is what we'll call them.
Do we have to settle on numbers to decide to create a task force, or is that something we can leave up to a later date?
So I think that's what Laverne was, Trustee Villalobos was suggesting. So, I mean, I think it's probably a good, I think it would be a good idea for us to do that vote and then officially vote on the details later if we have to do that, if we have to do another vote to vote on the details. But definitely, I mean, we can't leave this. I would like to get this done as soon as possible. So, Trustee Villalobos?
I think, like voting on the task force would be something that we could do. And I'd also like to hear some feedback from the other partners on what they might feel is a good number. As Dr. Olson said, there's admin. How many admin were you thinking being on the task force? And how can we make that fair to have CSEA, LSEA, parents, parent council reps, principals? How many were you thinking?
So that's kind of where I think maybe your idea about the special meeting to talk about the nuances of that, because we don't want to, the purpose of having, say, the cabinet members there isn't to sway the group or to do that. But those are the folks that are intimately involved in the details that I just am not going to be able to hold on to. So if we're talking about special education, that's where Dr. Carrillo would be there. And so it could either be like they're acting members of the task force and they're there when we're talking about their topic, or that might hold us up from making forward progress, and maybe they could be presenting members of the task force. But I just feel like having the superintendent be the one that presents that information would limit the quality of the information that came. And if we look at the ultimate goal isn't, I mean, it's parity per se so that people feel included and equal, but the ultimate decision that we want that task force to do is to provide information and input so that we can make a valid recommendation that would go to the board for the decision. So I wonder if having the argument about how many of each is the right argument, or if we should stay focused on what's the goal of the meeting. And the goal of the meeting is to have people feel included and give input and have that information to share out, I guess. So I wouldn't want to stack the deck by having more cabinet members there, but if we were doing distance learning and our coordinator of technology wasn't there, then something would come up about something not working, and then we'd have to say, okay, we'll get back to you on that answer. So I think as many people that could move it along would be important.
Okay, so in line with our one of the things we wanted to stress in our governance handbook, I'm going to try to move this along, and I think that we should probably proceed to vote on developing a task force and then convene a special meeting to hash out the details at a later date, but at a soon date, right? Like, this is not something that we want to put off for a long time. Let's get this done. Are all of my fellow trustees in agreement with this direction?
That is the direction I was going in.
Okay, thank you. So I guess I'm going to kind of change this vote, if I can, a little bit. Actually, I need a motion to approve the decision to develop a task force for reopening school in 2020-2021.
I will make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Ms. Campos, can you please take the roll call vote?
Yes. Trustee Burdall?
Yes.
Trustee Brocchini?
Yes.
Trustee Doggett?
Yes.
Trustee Levin?
Yes.
Trustee Villalobos?
Yes.
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 10B is in boy, proposal to update the board agenda to include LSEA report and CSEA report. Superintendent Olson.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just looking at the comments to make sure that there was not a speaker on this one. So this is the part that we were discussing in the other one, which is the spot on the agenda for a specific LSEA report and a CSEA report that would not be limited by time. So we began that conversation, but let's keep it going.
All right. Well, I left it off with kind of clarification question, and I think my question was, would this be a standing item on the regular board agendas, or would this be something limited to sort of pandemic-related times and return to school? And I think the answer that I got is that this would be a standing item until further notice. Discussion, clarification questions. None?
Just a question. So when we normally give them the time to speak, so would that just open in that, or would this be an additional time, or they could choose the location?
I think that that's a good question. I mean, I was also, if we go through with this, then I think that there has to be some coordination, right, between whoever's the president at the time and the superintendent and of course CSEA and LSEA on where the slot would be and what would be talked about. And sometimes they might not want to do a whole presentation, and other times they might want to do a presentation. So we have to sort of consider what the coordination and flexibility might be and where it goes in the schedule, and whether we want to be flexible or be like, this is your time slot every time. So I'm open to really whatever. Yes, Trustee Villalobos.
When I was envisioning what that would look like, I was mostly envisioning, the report being surrounded about the substance of what's going on in the schools or on Zoom, or the challenges that they're having. And 3 minutes, you can't really get all of that. But at the same time, LSEA, does do a mini report, but that was before COVID. So, maybe people have a lot more to say and a lot more to report out. So I'm open to keeping them both and seeing how it goes. And then, if we need to take, away the 3 minutes option, we could do that. But I'd really like some feedback on that.
Okay. Just to let you know, I wasn't aware that CSEA or LSEA was limited to 3 minutes. So I didn't think about that. I thought only public comment was limited to 3 minutes per person. So, and I'm still not sure about that, but it wasn't my understanding that LSEA and CSEA were bound by the same restriction. Superintendent Olson, did you want to say something? No? Okay. Sorry. I thought the little yellow border went around your tile. So.
Because I was trying to mute mute myself.
Understood. So I do agree with Trustee Villalobos, though, that again, that there should be some coordination, and especially when there might be a board item that's on the same type of topic, right? And it would be great if there could be some sort of joint presentations as well, particularly stemming. I'm going back to the last item, but stemming from what the task force comes up with. So that comes to mind. Are there other points of clarification that are necessary here, or questions that or discussion that my fellow board members have?
I have no questions.
No questions.
I have one more maybe suggestion.
Sure.
That we vote on adding, LSCA, CSCA report to the agenda, and then at our special meeting or work study, whatever we're going to call it, we hammer out the details then.
Okay. Any thoughts on that? I'm fine with that. Trustee, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think we'd have to work out whether if they were going to move around with different agenda items, they'd have to let us know. There's the deadline Friday at 5 o'clock for the agenda to be posted. So it's not a matter of the agenda being posted and then them, deciding that they want to then if they could comment, that's fine. But if it's a presentation, it would have to be more scheduled ahead of time with the agenda. So trying to work out those logistics. If it's an open-ended comment on an item, then it's a public comment. But if it's a presentation, we'd have to work that into the agenda. That would have to be posted at 5 the Friday before.
Absolutely, with any materials sent ahead of time, made public. So I think that certainly has to be the case. But Trustee Villalobos.
After I've watched a couple other meetings from other districts, the reports that come out from the unions aren't always a presentation, but a verbal one. So I think that still needs to be available and open.
Sure. I wasn't saying that there was a requirement to make a presentation. I was just saying in case there's a presentation, we're if it's agendized, we're bound by to make the materials public. At least that's my understanding. So shall we move ahead and vote on the decision to whether or not to do this and develop the details later in our special session? Yes, I see heads nodding. I see some thumbs going up.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Trustee Doggett. Okay, so let me see if I can get this right. Do I have a motion to approve the proposal to develop a board agenda slot for LSCA and CSEA to report out, with details being determined at a future special session? I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Sorry.
So-
make a motion to
Second.
approve.
Okay, I think we have Trustee Burkini as the first and Trustee Villalobos as the second. And Ms. Campos, will you please take the roll call vote?
Yes, trustee Bradall,
Yes.
trustee Burkini,
Yes.
trustee Doggett,
Yes.
trustee Levin,
Yes.
trustee Villalobos.
Yes.
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are at item 10C as in cat. Update on opening of school. Superintendent Olson.
We will try to move through this very quickly as we are, as President Ellsburn pointed out, 10% done with the first days of school. But we're going to talk about enrollment. We'll talk a bit about the hiring and the number of staff that we have. And then I just want to give the latest COVID update and our next steps. So Dr. Carrillo, will you take it away with enrollment?
Sure, thank you. Just a quick update on 3 different platforms that we've been utilizing this year. Of our approximately 3,000 students, to be exact, 2,974. There are 3 different options that they've had this year. We've worked with families to understand the various needs related to childcare and understanding helping them find that program that's going to make their child most successful. So we've continued to have those conversations. Where we stand right now is roughly 2,334 students are in our continuum model. 550 students are distance learning. Of that, 392 are in the TK through 5th grade, and 158 are in our 6th through 8th grade. And 90 students are currently in our homeschool program. Thank you.
Alexis, will you talk to us about our staff?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to give an update on our staffing for the 2020-2021 school year. Currently, we have 154 certificated employees, 135 classified employees, and 18 management employees. Included in these numbers, we hired 3 classified employees, 32 certificated employees, and 5 management employees for this current school year. In addition, we have 13 teachers participating in year 1 of the San Mateo County Office of Education induction program, and 9 teachers participating in year 2. This 2-year program assists teachers to clear their credentials. I would like to turn it over to Dr. Olson to discuss COVID-19 and next steps.
Okay. So one of the things that we want to bring to each meeting, or we've committed to doing to every 6 weeks, was to talk about where San Mateo County sits in the state classification system. And since we met last time, as we moved away from the monitoring list to the 4-tiered system, San Mateo County continues to be in purple, but is very likely to move to red probably within a week or 2. And so just for people's background information, the reason why they moved to the 4-tier system is for a few reasons. Number one, so that they're looking at the same data across the state and to build a statewide blueprint that has not just open or not open, but has different levels of kind of a continuum of opening. And so just like we think of our continuum as starting in distance learning and going to hybrid, which would be about hybrid would probably be approximately half open. They're doing that for different businesses as well. So we're going to be paying attention to what happens in the classification system. It comes out every Tuesday, but I think just like Trustee Burkini said, is that we need to just pay attention to that, because I feel like that will be changing. There's still a great amount of work that needs to be done to come back safely. And so just because we turn to red does not mean that our doors instantly open. Number one is that you can't open until 14 days after that. And so there's that piece, but you have to have a number of things in place. And that's some of the work that we will be doing when we talk to the task force team, is making sure that we get that work done. On October 13th, we do have a professional development day. We have 2 more professional development days left, one in October and one in January. For most of our staff members, we will use that October 13th professional development day as a health and safety day with the target of returning back to school. Again, we're not opening the doors on October 14th, but this is the day that we have all staff members, and we want to make sure that we get everyone the right information, the most timely information, and that they're feeling confident that when it is time to go back, that the needs will be met, that we'll be able to do so safely. So I'm meeting with Nancy McGee on Thursday morning to begin the planning of that professional development day. In terms of communicating with parents and families is that I have reached out to the parent advisory and the parent council members for a meeting on Monday evening where Mr. Lucy will share the learning continuity and attendance plan, and will give just general updates in terms of where we are. But one of the pieces of information that would be important is just feedback from students and staff and families on how is the return to school going, and getting the picture about what's working really well and then what parts are not working. It will take a while to develop that survey, but we hope to have that out within the next 2 weeks. Let's see what else. In terms of, we're starting to get into some of our normal school routines now that school is up and running. So this week before the board meeting, we had meetings with both CSEA and LSEA. They were just slightly longer, just because there's so much beginning of the school things to discuss. And then yesterday I started the superintendent updates with CSEA. We're still, Jackie Koval was going to send out a survey to CSEA members to find the best time. A challenge in CSEA and why CSEA is different, and thinking about the makeup of the teams, is CSEA has so many different job descriptions and so many different work hours. And so Jackie Koval's going to help us find the right time for many CSEA employees. And then we're going to hopefully start next week with certificated staff on Wednesdays at 11:30. And this summer we used a joint meeting Friday at 8:30 in the morning, but just in feedback from CSEA that they wanted a separate meeting because they felt like many of the questions asked were really focused on teachers, and because they felt like the situation was different for their many different job classes, is that they wanted a separate meeting. So that's why we're doing that separately. I think that's it. We just want to make sure that we're continuing to provide information both to the board and the public around the coronavirus situation. You can listen to the news and hear different things all the time, but I do find this 4-tiered system to be more consistent. Marin actually has moved into the red category. A few more Bay Area counties have moved in, and so I would expect San Mateo to move in as well. So I'll stop at that point and see what questions you might have.
Jesse, I do notice that Janelle Jones had wanted to make a comment on this item.
Yes, indeed. So I wanted to give Janelle Jones the public comment and then open it up to the board.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Janelle Jones. I'm a parent at IBL, and I'm also the parent council rep on the PTO there. And I've been a volunteer in our district for 7 years, and I've been a classified substitute for the last 2 years. And I want to express concerns anytime that reports have been given over the last few months about staffing, that it is not mentioned how many contractors are being hired within the district. And hiring a contractor, a short-term contractor, is not the same as hiring a permanent employee. And I am a strong believer that the board and the general public need to know how many contractors are working in our district. And especially because most or all of them are working in special ed, which is some of our most vulnerable students. I think that's really important to know how many are not permanent employees. These contractors are not invested in our community or our district or the long-term development of our students. And also I wanted to note that I have noticed on EdJoin and other avenues of hiring that neighboring districts are providing signing bonuses for, especially for special ed, to entice candidates for permanent hirings. And I wondered if our district is looking into that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to open it up to my fellow trustees. Comments and questions on the presentation from Superintendent Olson and colleagues? Trustee Villalobos.
I'm just wondering if we know how many contractors there are at the present time working?
I can definitely get that information to you. I don't have the numbers right offhand right now. I do want to say that we have posted for these positions, and unfortunately, we have not had qualified candidates to fill them, and that's why we do reach out to agencies when we do need to get the positions filled. We want our students to receive their education and their services, and that is why we've had to contract out to agencies. And I will also say that unfortunately, we are not the only district surrounding us that has had to reach out to agencies. We would love to hire permanent employees for these positions. That would be our absolute first and foremost. But unfortunately, the candidates just are not there currently. So that is why we have contracted out. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I'm happy to get that information to you.
So I know that there, shortages of special education teachers is a national phenomenon. It's pretty much everywhere, and certainly here in California. I guess one of the things that I just heard in the public comment that I just, I'm not going to speak to directly, but I'm just wondering, there's something to the effect that contractors don't really care about our kids. And I'm wondering if there are some contractors that actually really do enjoy our district, and we might be able to offer some sort of sign-on bonus to have them turn permanent, right? I mean, the idea is that we do want permanent staff that eventually have a stake in our community. And I'm not sure if that's just pure folly or not. I'm just throwing it out there that clearly there is a shortage. Sign-on bonuses are one way to attract and retain. And we already have some contractors that are kind of in hand, and we're not having luck hiring permanent. So it's kind of like, is there a way to convert contractors? And I'm not sure if this is a good idea or not. I'm just throwing it out there, because I guess I just don't know one way or another if contractors are kind of serial contractors, like that's all they want to do is contract, or are there some of them, particularly the ones that we feel are really good, that we might want to try to make an offer and get signed on permanently?
Yeah, it really depends on the agency and what the agreement is. Some have a non-compete clause so that we can't take them. When we go back and research how many contractors we have, I do want to just check to see. I thought we had one person that was a contractor that became a district employee, but I don't want to say that out loud because I'm not certain without that. But it certainly would be our interest to do that. And then there's a handful of people that like to change their locations in the United States, so they don't just want to work in one place. And so for them, that works for them.
Okay, thank you. Other comments, questions?
I don't have any.
Okay, Trustee Villalobos.
Oh, I was just wondering if at the next meeting, we could have those numbers prepared of how many contractors and what they're being paid for.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, I think we're going to try to move on now if there are no other questions. We are at item, we are at item 10D as in David, Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan, the new LCAP. They really didn't choose that acronym very well. Mr. Lucy, it's all you.
All right, I'm going to try something here, so bear with me if it works. I should go right to the presentation this way. Do you see the presentation?
Yes.
All right, it worked. That was easy. That was the easiest way to get to the presentation. Okay, so this is the public hearing for the 2020-2021 Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan. Senate Bill 98 established that the Local Control Accountability Plan are now required, is not required for the 2021 school year. SB 98 established the Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan requirements for the 2020-21 school year. This plan is up for public hearing tonight. There are 10 sections to the plan that satisfy the SB 98 requirements. I'll go through and give an overview of each of the sections. And again, I just want to be clear that this is an overview. You do have a copy of the entire 23-page plan. So what I'm giving you tonight is simply an overview of that plan. So the first section is general information. This section outlines the impact of COVID-19 has had on the Pacifica School District community, from when campuses first closed to addressing engagement and supporting the most impacted students, to seeking community feedback and making adjustments based off the feedback, to the work done over the summer through the work groups, the return to school work groups, to 3 program offerings, and to the start of school from a distance. All of this done with ensuring safety for all, maximizing student engagement, giving students social emotional support, and providing support for staff and students. How we have and will continue to engage our stakeholders is through the use of surveys and input groups that have influenced our learning continuity plan. We have conducted and will continue to seek feedback through family, staff, and student surveys, and through input groups that represent all of our stakeholders. It is important that our stakeholders are informed and provide input on reopening schools. From the feedback received up to this point, learning loss needs to be addressed. Student engagement should be a focus, with re-engagement strategies to support for students not participating, support provided social emotional well-being and mental health, and an increase in teacher and parent communication. There's also showed a need for more structured schedules, but also allowing for flexibility to address both family and individual student needs, ensuring that devices and connectivity are provided to anyone who needs them in order to participate, and the streamlining and having consistency with tech tools and platforms. When deemed safe for continuum student, our continuum students will shift into a hybrid model for students, where students will be divided into 2 groups, with each group attending 2 times per week. Group A on Monday and Tuesday, and Group B on Thursday and Friday. The other 3 days, the students are at home learning asynchronously. Teachers have attended and will continue to attend accelerated learning workshops to address learning loss within both the in-person learning and distance learning. Teachers will have opportunities to collaborate across grade levels, including analyzing assessment data and adjusting instruction accordingly. Guidelines from the San Mateo County and the recommendations of the Health and Safety Work Group will provide guidance in the shift to in-person learning. Distance learning. As mentioned earlier, 3 programs are offered which families chose for their children: full year distance learning, continuum, and home study. Although supplemented, teachers will primarily use district adopted curriculum to provide instruction. With the purchase of additional Chromebooks expected by the end of September, we will be able to provide all with Chromebooks and provide those who need them hotspots. Student participation and progress will be monitored daily. Attendance will be taken at the end of each day, and participation and engagement will be documented weekly. Synergy, our district-wide student information system, will help document both. In a continued effort to support teachers in providing distance learning, 3 sources of professional development teachers have participated in. Over 30 teachers during the summer enrolled in the Key Tools for Engagement course that focused on distance learning, teaching, engagement practices. The course is being repeated, and more of our teachers are attending it through September. As mentioned earlier, all of our teachers participated in 2 accelerated learning workshops facilitated by the new teacher project and focused on addressing learning loss by accelerated learning. The 3rd source of PD was the distance learning playbook, which was given out to all teachers and previewed before school started. This book, packed with great resources and focuses on providing high impact teaching and learning while keeping in mind the social emotional needs of our children. To support with exceptional needs, their services will be delivered based on IEPs, which will include small group and one-on-one support. They also will be a high priority for in-person support when deemed safe. English learners will have both designated and integrated supports. Low-income foster care and homeless will receive supports based on their individual needs and will have increased level of communication with families to ensure needs are met. In addressing student learning loss from the spring, teachers started by identifying focus or high leverage grade level standards, and based on lost learning, what prerequisite standards were needed to address these high leverage standards. Those prerequisite skills and standards are scaffolded into the lesson planning. Students who needed more or more focused support will receive Tier 2, which is synchronous small group support, or Tier 3, individually focused support. And again, certain student groups will have priority in receiving in-person support. Mental health and social emotional well-being, which is most important to staff, students, and community. Within the schedules, time is built in to make connections with teachers and classmates. There is a priority for two-way communication because we think it's vital for families to be able to contact teachers and counselors and vice versa. We will be implementing or continue to implement a multi-tiered support for a mental health support. And the Mental Health Student Service Act grant, which we are receiving, provides social emotional learning curriculum and training, and those are up and coming. Those have just been started. The actual curriculum has just been chosen by our wellness team. And then wellness resources for students, staff, and families are located on not only our Parent Hub webpage, but also our teacher staff webpage. Pupil and family engagement and outreach. Based off SB 98's requirements, attendance needs to be taken daily. So student absences, which are attendance will be taken daily at the end of the day, and student absences will be verified by school office staff, monitored, and documented participation and engagement. So the staff's going to help in monitoring, the office staff's going to help the teachers in monitoring that attendance. And then the other piece of outlined in SB 98 is this participation and engagement, which is required to be monitored and documented weekly. We will be utilizing Synergy, as Synergy has added a component to their program, which is our student information system that allows us to to monitor and both participation and engagement during synchronous learning and asynchronous times. And then the other key is the consistent communication, as I indicated previously, is the idea of communication not only between teacher and student, but also between teacher and families. And we utilize Seesaw, or we're utilizing Seesaw for the TK2, Google Classroom for the 3.5, although Google Classroom, we're utilizing it in some places TK8. And then also Jupyter Ed, which is specifically utilized by the 6th through 8th. We also, just like we are on now, the teachers are on Zoom meetings or Google Meet meetings. The schools send out electronic newsletters, and we continue to utilize School Messenger in order to provide timely communications from the districts and from the school sites out to the communities. With regard to school nutrition, we are continuing the meal service that was provided over the summer, but we actually are providing it at all the school sites. It's a grab and go system that meals are served twice a week at all school sites. On Tuesdays, 2 breakfasts and 2 lunches are provided, and Thursdays, 3 breakfasts and 3 lunches. So these students get their 5 breakfasts and 5 lunches throughout the week. And again, we are consistent with pre-COVID nutritionally balanced meals. We follow the guidelines of the National Lunch System, and our safety is the #1 piece in making sure that we are providing the items that are wrapped safely, they're distributed outside of the schools. And an improved service for our unduplicated students. And our unduplicated students are socioeconomically disadvantaged students, are English language learners, are foster youth, and are homeless. The accelerated learning workshops that the teachers have participated in and will continue to participate in that focus on learning loss did have an emphasis on these students who have not compared to other student groups benefited as much from distance learning in the spring. Teacher collaboration is going to be again a big piece. There are times throughout the week that teachers are allowed to collaborate. I know it was mentioned earlier in this meeting that many of the teachers are excited about those collaborations because it has helped them. And I know that much of the focus in those collaborations is how to address this learning loss of these unduplicated students. We are allocating or making available funds so that we can translate student support meetings that are in need of translation. We're trying to build a list of internal employees that with that. And then also with our English learners, we are working with the San Mateo County Office of Ed to provide ELD designated English language development training and professional development for our teachers. We as mentioned before, we're providing Chromebooks and hotspots, but also providing physical materials and resources for students who need them. These unduplicated students seem to be the ones that need those the most, is that having that physical material at home so that they can access it and utilize it is important. And then providing additional individual and small group supports specific to student needs. So the schedules that we have out at the schools do have time for small group support and individual support. So these unduplicated students will have the opportunity to take advantage of those particular areas. Wow, I got through that a lot quicker than I thought I was. Again, I do want to reiterate that this is a summary. There's a lot more in the plan itself. So if you have questions about what I presented or what's in the plan, please ask now.
Thanks so much, Mr. Lucy. I want to open it up to my fellow trustees. Are there questions, points of clarification needed?
I just had a quick question. The Chromebooks that are on order, I've heard, the supply chain and all that with all school districts, they're quite back ordered. Do you know if ours are on that list, or if you've been notified yet if they're going to be a major delay on getting new Chromebooks?
Yeah, we should be getting them by the end of September, so pretty soon. And we're actually already starting to plan about distribution and assuring that all sites are one-to-one, so that that we can guarantee that every student in Pacifica School District has a Chromebook that they can check out. Yeah, we were fortunate in that, yes, there was a lot of districts that were caught in that, but our specific model of Chromebook is one that is more readily available than in comparison to the other models. So we've been told multiple times that we should be having them by the end of September. So very, very fortunate that way, because I know there's some school districts that have to wait till January to get theirs, and they place their orders during the summer.
So I have a related question that I had written down, and that is, what is our effective shortage of Chromebooks and hotspots for that matter? I really want to know, do we have a handle on the number of students that need this equipment that don't currently have it?
Yeah, so in the spring, we had estimated around a little over 1,000, a third of our student population was in need of Chromebooks. That's probably a higher number now. And we feel that the best direction from that, based on just, the librarians or the library media technicians have been phenomenal in helping determine this. Is that it's going to be just important for us to just, as far as Chromebooks go out, is distribute one to every student. It'll help in a couple of ways. First, you get those families that don't let you know, and then you find out later because they're not engaging, and then you have to ask them. So it's kind of awkward in that you're calling them and saying, you're not engaging. Do you have the equipment you need? And then you eventually get it to them. So in one way, just getting them out to every student has a Chromebook, but also it's going to be helpful for the tech team, not only on site, but also at the district level, being able to manage those Chromebooks and making sure that they have all the software they needed. It's, they're secure, those type of things. They're all on one type of Chromebook, and we're able to push out stuff much more easier and stuff like that. As far as the hotspots are concerned, we've been, we made a purchase of 200 hotspots. And it was literally based on what we were seeing this year, not necessarily last year. Last year, there was the delay in the hotspots, and maybe the communication that went out, families were just deterred. And so they were making other arrangements. They were, parking near a library, or, they were figuring it out on their own. This year, because we jumped ahead in saying, who needs a hotspot? We've been inundated with the number of families and students that need hotspots. And sometimes they're asking for 2 in one household because it's not able to cover if they're both on Zoom together, and so on. And then also we have some of our students are going into the daycares, and we're making sure that those daycares, if they don't have access points or powerful enough access points, that they're getting a hotspot or a couple hotspots or even 3 hotspots, so that they can be able to do, while the parents are, while the students at daycare, that they can participate in the distance learning. So for the hotspots right now, there is still some requests coming in, and we've been filling them, but we're getting to a point where we probably will have to purchase more hotspots. So we purchased 200 of them, and we'll probably have to purchase, I would say, another 50 to 100 right now. But we have been filling in, whoever has been letting us know or letting the LMTs know, they've been handing out hotspots to those.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. It sounds like you're still kind of in discovery period on some of this, and certainly the following up with families whose students have not been consistently engaged is going to tell you. I guess I'd like an update, if you could, at the next meeting, just to understand. Maybe it's sort of a good metric might be the number of or the proportion of students who were not engaged, that were not engaged because of lack of technology. But I mean, it sounds like you're on top of it, but I just want to make sure that all kids not only have a device, but a Chromebook, but also connectivity. Yeah. Right? Because that would kind of be a shame. Otherwise, I mean, we're a couple weeks in here, so they part of it is that some families, we're getting a lot of this where families will feel they have, like they have good internet, and then when they start, if they have a couple of kids that are on Zooms together or whatever, then they later on, even though they've been engaged, they later on request another one because this parent had to get off their things to make sure that their child's Zoom was working during the time they're on Zoom, like that type of thing. So sure, the requests have been coming in later, even from families, even from students that have been engaged, have been able to do it, but it's been because of what's happening in the household and the weakness of a. It's been spotty. So I mean, it would also be good to know, you probably have a good handle on this, how many users a hotspot can handle without glitching. Well, there's some that, like the ones we got from Heather, I think you were telling me the ones we got from San Mateo County. One set we got from San Mateo County was only like one person could get on one hotspot. Yeah. But there was the 200 that we bought can be used for, can be multiple. And then also we had a 20 from AT&T that also can be used for multiple, but there was a certain patch of them that only could be used with one person. Sure. Okay, thanks. I want to move this along. So my fellow trustees, questions for Mr. Lucy? Yeah, Trustee Villalobos.
Thank you, Jesse. Jesse, one of my questions was about the hotspots for the kids. Just because when I was in the back to school night Zoom, one of the parents was spotty, and you couldn't understand sometimes. So is there any way, I don't know, to find out exactly who in what class is having that issue so we can get the hotspots to them? That's my first question. And then the other one is for the school nutrition, like when I drive by Ortega on my way home, I don't see a lot of cars. So I was just wondering how that's going for the grab and the go.
Yeah, I don't have for your second question, I don't have the numbers about how many are picking up lunches. I don't know if Josie might have the numbers on that. It would be more of Lori Miller would be able to give us the numbers on that. But for your first question around the hotspots, we've been really dependent on the teachers, and they've been very good about, when they're on a Zoom and if they see someone kind of going in and out, that they either contact that family or, and again, our library media technicians have been like superstars on this. They'll let the library media technician, and library media technician will literally phone those families and say, hey, do you need, support and help with your connectivity? But we are really dependent on either us reaching out to those families or those families letting us know this, we have spotty or we don't have it, or that type of thing. But up to this point, and Christy Novak has been really kind of spearheading this. But up to this point, I think we've been pretty good about catching those families that are those students that are either having spotty and it's because the teachers and the LMTs are really connecting with them. So Josie, I don't know if do you have numbers at all? I don't have any. I don't know the numbers are.
I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but the lunch counts have been extremely low because we are serving at all schools. For example, IBL has ranged from 12, 14, 15 a day. I'll get a report and I can actually write it in the week in review with the actual numbers, but it's been very low so far. We're hoping that the numbers kind of pick up as we go along.
Yeah, I think that's really important because, we have a lot of kids that, whose parents may not be working right now. So maybe there's a way we can just push it out there again, that there's a pickup for Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, we'll ask them to put it in the newsletters again.
So I have a related question on the lunches, and I guess my question is, why is it Tuesdays and Thursdays and not Mondays and Wednesdays? So yes, you're serving 2 and 3 breakfasts and lunches on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that sort of takes them into the weekend, right, on Saturday. But the idea behind a nutrition program is to provide nutrition for students for when they're learning. So it seems like they're not being provided their breakfast or lunch for a Monday. So I sorry to be nitpicky, but it's just a little strange that we're providing nutrition on a non-instructional day, and we're missing out on an instructional day.
Yeah, that's a good question, Trustee Levin. We can look at that. I know initially we were trying to just kind of match up with the high school district, and I don't even know if we still are matched with the high school district. Monday's also a prep day for them to cup the fruits and vegetables and such. But I mean, we could work it out where we can see how it goes and change to Mondays and Wednesdays. There's nothing restricting us from the days that we do it.
And it's not being a stickler. I mean, there's research out there that really specifies that nutrition is very important for learning. And so I just don't want families to miss out on their Mondays, or students to miss out on their Monday nutrition. So sorry if I sound nitpicky on that.
No, it's a very good point. And we do give 5 meals, but like you said, they're eating them on the weekends likely. So Monday they could possibly go without. So we'll look at that and see what can be done.
Thank you very much. Other questions or comments?
My only comment is just I'm reminded of how much work everyone did over the summer leading up to this with ever-changing goals. So again, thank you. And it really looks good. I know a lot of work went into it.
Thanks, Linda.
I have just 2 more very quickly. I know it's getting late, everyone. But one thing is that there was significant professional development, and I'm wondering if with the professional development that was provided to staff on distance learning, if there were any feedback surveys given, and if you've gotten any feedback from staff on the PD and what they liked, didn't like, what suggestions for improvements.
Well, as far as the first PD that I mentioned, which was the course that they took over the summer, the 30 plus teachers that took that over the summer, and there's a second, the course is being repeated and on Wednesdays through September. Very positive feedback from there. They thought it was very helpful and beneficial. And in fact, they were bringing information to the instructional and technology work group that was very beneficial for us, very helpful for us. in coming up with ideas and about how we're doing that. As far as the accelerated workshops, it was more of a jumping off point. And I know because it was right before school started, it was kind of a tough time for them because everybody was starting a new experience completely. And so, but I was impressed with how engaged they were with it. Like they were, I can only imagine being a teacher and having, sitting in a PD day and thinking, what am I going to do tomorrow? They were very engaged in it. But it was really a jumping off point. I mean, the whole purpose of that was this idea that you can provide grade level instruction while still addressing learning loss. So, remediation is not necessarily the way that this accelerated learning approach can work. And I think for the most part that they bought into that piece. It's now that they're identifying those high focused standards and then working from there. But it was more of a jumping off point. And then with the playbook, it was great that Heather decided, let's purchase a book for everybody, because I have that book on the side of my desk and sometimes I'll get phone calls and I literally will go into the book and said, have you tried this? So there it's full of resources. They got 9 different modules in there. And the great thing about it is it really focuses on that idea of that we have to consider the social emotional piece when we are considering the academic. That has to be part of the equation. So I like that emphasis on it. And I don't know, Heather, I know I've gotten a number of thanks, and I wasn't even the one that purchased it, that they had that book. I don't know what you've heard, but I've heard only positives about that. We didn't send out a survey related to that, like, what do you think? And might be part of our staff survey, what resources have been very helpful for you, that type of thing. But anyway, I don't know if you heard anything different, Heather.
No, I heard very positive things. And to any staff members that are in the audience, we just received our last shipment of 50 of those today. So let us know if you need it and we will get it out to you. We'll work with the principals around getting the final copies. Again, that was one of the situations where everyone across America was purchasing it. And so they were a little back ordered on that end.
Thank you very much. I have one final question. I promise. And that is, in the LCAP itself, I did have a concern actually, and it's on page 12 on the supports for pupils with unique needs. And so my concern is that you have a list of different types of students that you're dedicating afternoon times to be set aside to provide extra support. And it seems that a very important group is left out. That is English learners. So it does say low income / foster care / homeless, but as we know, the other part of the unduplicated counts of students are ELs. Now, many EL students also fall under the low income, but I'm just wondering if that was an oversight or not, because it would seem that you would also want to set aside additional support time to meet the unique needs of the ELs in the afternoon.
Are you referring to the section on supports for pupils with unique needs, or yes. Okay, yeah, it's in there. The students who are English language learners will receive, and there's four bullets.
Yes, I understand that, but it says nothing about time being set aside in the afternoons for them. And if you look right after that, it says students who are low income, foster care, homeless, and then it says afternoon times are set aside. I assume EL should be in there as well, right?
Yeah, they will. They will not only be provided that extra support during that designated English language development, because be in a small group setting, but also within the integrated, those when the teachers break out into smaller groups to support students, those English learners will be part of that small group instruction. It is One of the challenges in putting this together was that it is, and I can't find it right now, but it is put in another area plan that it states that not only will English language learners be first priority in the in-person one-on-one, but also will be provided small group instruction based off their need. So, there's 4 domains as language, language development. There's 4 domains in there, and through the integrated approach, you want to address those 4 domains. So, they would be provided that small group instruction in the domain or in the couple of domains that they would need support with. Again, it would be based off how the teacher assessment, when they assess the students and how they break up their groups, they will be provided that.
Well, so like I said, it seemed like it's an oversight. I would suggest putting EL in there in that last section.
Okay. So,
right? So that somebody doesn't read it, because you do say that you're going to supply all these services for ELs, but then you say afternoon times are reserved only for the other types of unduplicated students, right?
Oh, did I write it that way? Well,
so look at the bottom section of the box on page 12, and we can follow. I can follow up with you if you can't find it later. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I see the bottom section. Oh yeah. Okay. I'll look through it and I can always follow up with you if I'm not seeing something.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Are there any other questions or concerns from fellow trustees?
Questions.
Okay. Thank you so much. We're going to move on to 10E, Candidate Forum Night.
Great. I had the opportunity on Monday to attend the San Mateo County School Boards Association Candidate Forum Night and heard from a number of experts around how to run a campaign. And 2 of our candidates attended, and we met afterwards. We are really fortunate to be able to offer a candidate forum, which is going to be on October 21st at 7 p.m. on Zoom. This information, after I talk to Suzanne tomorrow, will be posted on our website. And it's going to be facilitated by the League of Women Voters. They will collect questions that the public wants to be presented prior to the meeting, and then they will facilitate that as well. I'm really very excited to be able to offer that, and very excited to have 3 candidates, and Jared Steele, Patricia Balmas, Marissa Arena are all great candidates, and we look forward to getting to know them a little bit better. Any questions?
I assume there will be sort of invitations going out to remind everybody.
Absolutely. We're going to post it on our website, and then we will include it in communications with families so that they can have access to that, and obviously staff as well.
Thank you very much.
Heather, do you want to explain Kai and my positions and where we're at with that?
Oh, yeah. Actually, that's a great idea. I meant to do that. We have 3 positions that came open. The positions are 2 4-year positions, and so Kai was appointed to a position and that Andrea Gould had, and so that is now up for election. That's a 4-year election, and so she put her name in the hat, and then. Just trying to think, it's a little late for me to be thinking, but there's another 4-year position, and Linda put her hat in the ring. So had Linda stayed in the position that the Kathy Shiakari position, so Kathy Shiakari resigned with 2 years left on her term, and so it means that as a election that's only a 2-year election. So Linda moved over to the 4-year position, and both Kai and Linda, Trustee Doggett and Trustee Brocchini, were the only 2 candidates that put in for those positions, and so there will be no election for that. They will assume those positions in December. And so for the 2-year position, that's where the 3 candidates threw their hat in the ring. So thank you for that.
Great. So if there are no other questions, we are going to move on.
Elizabeth has a question, I think.
I'm sorry. I didn't see that.
Just with the candidate forum, are there any legalities of sitting board members well, it's a Zoom call, so it's not like being there in person. Are we allowed to attend? Is it illegal for us to attend? Can only two attend? How does that fall?
Right. As voting citizens, you absolutely would want to attend, and it will be run as a Zoom webinar, which means it will probably be the three candidates and the League of Women Voters will be the panelists, and you would participate as audience members. So, and as long as you don't talk amongst yourself during that, we should be good. Thanks for asking, Elizabeth.
Thanks. Are there any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, then moving on, we are at item 10F, approval of unaudited actuals for fiscal year 2019-2020. Ms. Peterson.
Okay, thank you. Tonight, we are presenting the unaudited actuals for all the funds, along with all the forms and reports that we will be sending to the County Office of Education. The unaudited actuals for the 2019-20 school year reflect the actual revenues and expenditures for last school year. The ending fund balance is higher than what we had projected in May 2020, and it's mainly due to higher lottery revenues. The state gives us estimates, and then when the final numbers come in, they're usually, which is a good thing, a little bit higher. We do have some unspent site funds, mostly due to COVID. A lot of things were shut down and sites didn't spend all of their funds. And then the other difference is the final special education expenditures were much less than what we had anticipated. But even with the higher ending fund balance, the district still is facing budget reductions. If you remember when we brought the 2021 budget to the board in May, we were facing budget reductions and we were unable to meet our financial obligations in the 2 years out of 2021. So the county has given me a preliminary letter on their review of our 2021 adopted budget, and they are issuing what's called a conditional approval of our budget because the district is unable to meet its 3% reserve for the next 2 years. So what that means is moving forward, the County Office of Education, the superintendent, has outlined a plan of action for the district and has assigned us a fiscal advisor until further notice. I did receive this information. However, Trustee Levin and Superintendent Olson will be receiving a formal letter probably early next week outlining this information that I'm sharing with you tonight. So the district will be reporting to the county with a written action plan that outlines measures taken and future steps to address the projected budget deficits. In addition to regular updates on certain items such as staffing and the bargaining settlements with fiscal impact will need to be reviewed by the county. So at this time, the next step for the district is normally to prepare our first interim report in November. But now we'll be including requirements that will be outlined in the letter that you will receive from the county superintendent of schools. Tonight, this is an action item. There's a lot of information here, and I just tried to summarize it for you very quickly. It is recommended that the board approve the unaudited actuals and authorize the superintendent to file these statements with the County Office of Education. If you do that tonight, we will send this packet to the County Office of Education for their review. And at the same time, our auditors are currently also reviewing this information. Our auditors would issue their report to you in January. And the county superintendent of schools would be reviewing it as soon as they receive this packet. So I don't know if you have any questions. I know it was a lot of information. Very, very quick summary for you.
I have no questions. Do my fellow trustees?
No questions.
No questions.
Just have one question just about that letter. Is that letter going just to Jesse or to the whole board that you mentioned?
Normally, the letter will only go to Trustee Levin, and Superintendent Olson and myself will receive a copy, which they could share with you in communications at the next board meeting. I think that's how it works, right, Dr. Olson?
Yeah, what we've done typically in the past when we have the final letter is that actually we used to put a hard copy right on your place, right on the dais. So I think we're going to have to use the virtual world to get you a copy of that.
Okay, thank you. Other than that, no questions.
Thank you very much. Last call for questions on the unaudited actuals. I will take the silence as no questions, and I would like to ask if I have a motion to approve the approval of the unaudited actuals for fiscal year 2019-2020.
I'll motion to approve the approval of the unaudited actuals for the fiscal year of 2019-2020.
There's no redundancy in that wording, is there, my fellow trustees? Approve of the approval. Thank you. Ms. Campos, will you please take the roll call vote?
Can I have clarity on the second?
That was me, Kai.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Sorry, I was talking over her, my fault.
Thank you. Trustee Burdall?
Yes.
Trustee Brocchini?
Yes.
Trustee Doggett?
Yes.
Trustee Levin?
Yes.
Trustee Villalobos?
Yes.
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 10G, Resolution 2020-09-16, adoption of GAN. Ms. Peterson.
Okay, thank you. As you know, this is another routine state reporting requirement that school districts must submit at the end of the year. This GAN limit was established back in 1979, and the intention is to constrain growth in local government by government spending by linking year-to-year changes with inflation. Education code requires the governing board to adopt this resolution, estimating what the appropriation for the current year and the actual appropriation for the previous year. So those numbers are actually right on the screen right there in the summary. The district GAN calculation is completed using the state software and has been made available for public inspection. The calculation identifies how much state aid counts towards the school district's GAN limit so that the state of California knows how much state aid counts towards the state's GAN limit. Tonight, it is recommended that the board approve the GAN resolution attached so that it can be submitted to the county along with the unaudited actuals for the state reporting purposes.
Thank you very much. Do I have questions from my fellow trustees?
No questions.
No questions.
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, I have no questions either. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2020-09-16-A, adoption of the GAN? I have a motion from Trustee Villalobos. Yeah.
I'll motion to approve Resolution 2020-09-16A, adoption of GAN, goal governance.
Thank you. I will second that motion. Ms. Campos, will you please take the roll call vote?
Yes. Trustee Burdall?
Yes.
Trustee Brocchini?
Yes.
Trustee Doggett?
Yes.
Trustee Levin?
Yes.
Trustee Villalobos?
Yes.
Board passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are at item 11, future agenda items.
So on September 30th is when we are going to ask for your approval for the learning continuity and attendance plan. That's a special meeting, and we truly appreciate you being willing to schedule that because there was no way at the beginning of school we could have gotten this done. So thank you for that. I would actually suggest that that's where we do some of the work around the next steps with the planning around the task force and the agenda. Your thoughts on that?
That makes sense.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Okay, that is scheduled for 6 o'clock for the approval of the learning continuity and attendance. And so we'll just work after that. Does that sound okay with each of you? Thumbs up. Okay.
Yes.
The items for the October 7th board meeting, in addition to the items that you asked us to report out on, we're going to bring the board governance handbook that Luann Rivera has submitted a draft. We'll do a quick report on Constitution Day. We typically have done resolutions for Indigenous Peoples Day and the week of the administrator. We will report out on final certificated assignments, and depending on direction I receive from the board, we may bring the superintendent contract forward. So I will check with the board president on if that's something that we're going to bring forward. It has to happen in a scheduled board meeting as opposed to a special board meeting. Any other items?
I can't think of anything. I guess I would like, I'm sure Mr. Lucy will be speaking, but I guess I would like an update on the technology dissemination. Somewhere in the meeting. I'm sure it'll fit in somewhere.
Would that be at the 30th or the 7th?
The 7th, please, the 7th. And then I think Trustee Villalobos asked for something as well. I can't remember.
Contractors. It was for the contractors, the number that we have working for us.
There you go.
Okay. And we said that we would also provide lunches as well, the lunch counts. So, okay, that I believe is it.
Okay, if there's nothing else, then I want to thank everybody for attending and your time and everybody's hard work. I am going to adjourn this meeting at 9:23 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.